Thank you, councillors. Please remain standing whilst my chaplain, Reverend Gary Lewis, says prayers.
Let us pray. Before we ask God's blessing upon this, our meeting, we pray for our borough as a whole and for our county. In this cold spell, we pray for the homeless and for all who are struggling to heat their homes. We pray for all council workers to maintain our roads and highways, most especially for those in all weathers, dangerous and cold conditions, salt and grit our roads. Lord, we ask your blessing upon this meeting, upon the councillors here present and the communities they represent. We ask for your guidance and your wisdom as we seek your blessing on this meeting. We ask this in the name of your Son, our Saviour Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Councillors, please be seated. I have a couple of housekeeping announcements. There are no fire alarm tests planned for this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber by the nearest door, then follow the illuminated fire exit signs and assemble in the car park at the rear of the building. Following the trail at the last meeting, a sound recording is being made at this meeting. The recording will be uploaded to the website so that anyone wishing to listen to the full proceedings or hear what individual councillors have to say will be able to do so. Finally, before we start, I would like to welcome Councillor Peter Cartridge, the newly elected member for Preesall Ward, to his first council meeting. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Balmain, Councillor Ingham, and I. Duffy, B. Stevenson and E. Stevenson. Is there any more apologies?
Councillors Duffy, Ruth Duffy,
yes,
and Councillor Ron Shewan.
Thank you. Any more apologies? The next item on the agenda is confirmation of minutes. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 7th of December 2017 be approved as a correct record? Is there a seconder for that proposal? Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? Councillor Fale?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An amendment, suggested amendment on page 4 at COU 59, appointment to committees. On page 4, between items 3 and 4 of the resolved items, there's an item missing there that should say that Councillor Brian Stevenson be appointed to the Audit Committee in place of Councillor Ballard. That was agreed last time.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gibson?
Second for that thing.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Beaver.
Sorry, before you bring Councillor Gibson in for his proposed amendment, that is, in my opinion, a valid amendment because it's a factual inaccuracy in the minutes. Apologise for that. So that would be an acceptable proposed amendment.
Councillor Gibson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just a comment on page 5 where it says Councillor Vincent said he would arrange for a written response to be sent to me about the costs of the commercial awareness training for staff commissioned from the North West employers. This has never been sent.
It's not an amendment.
No.
Well, I note that comment, but that's not an amendment to the minutes because the minutes captures the action. It's for Councillor Vincent then to actually follow up on that action.
I won't hold my breath.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. No more proposed amendments?
Take the vote, include the amendment by Councillor Fylde.
Right. Could we vote, please?
Including the amendment by Councillor Fylde.
Yes, including the amendment by Councillor Fylde. All those in favour?
It's unanimous.
Unanimous, thank you. The minutes for the December meeting are confirmed. The next item on the agenda is declarations of interest. Do any members have any interest to declare on any item included on the agenda? None, thank you. The next item is announcements. I have 4 Mayor's charity announcements and 1 other announcement this evening. First, the Mayor's charities events. There will be a night at the Dogs, courtesy of Bellevue Greyhound Stadium, Manchester, on Saturday the 17th of February 2018 at 6:30. Tickets are available from Andrea Mullen. Prices are £30 a ticket, which does include a 3-course meal, each to included, yes, with the meal. Number 2, the fashion show by Almarise at Winmarley Village Hall on Friday the 9th of March 2018 at 7:30. Tickets are available from myself or from Andrea Mullen at a cost of £7 each. That includes coffee, tea and biscuits. And number 3, a reminder of the raffle for the Luxury Spa Hotel Weekend Break for 2, including breakfast and dinner up to the value of £500. Tickets are £1 each or £10 a book. And I'm going to pass them to the Chief Executive to start the circulation of the tickets.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll take a book. So if you are going to take a book, if you just put the stubs
In the envelope.
Unless he's going to take some time to put these up. Including the
Yes.
any money.
Yes. Won't they all tear off? Should I give Julie some?
Yeah,
There we are.
put it that way.
Is it?
There you go, there's proof Madam Mayor I've paid.
Thank you.
There we are.
Thank you, Gary.
There we are, Gary.
There we
All
go.
right.
That's
you.
great, and then we'll go.
Have you got your tickets? Can you put your stubs in there?
I will
Yes.
stuff my stuff in
There you
there.
go.
Thank you.
Have you written on them? No, you best
I know, I know,
write
I know,
on them.
that's what
Yes.
You have to write
Please
on them.
do write on them, people, because if you don't, that would be very upsetting for the luxury weekend, wouldn't it?
I didn't realise you had to write on them. Take ages.
Well, if you write just on the top of the book,
Just
if you
on
take
the top.
a book,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, take a book and write on the phone.
then I'll
top.
make
Yeah,
sure they're all filled in at the
Yeah.
end.
There we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Leader.
Thank you very much. Yes. I'd like to thank you all before for your generosity. It is for two very good causes, and being rural, we all need occasion for the air ambulance, and I think in all areas, Marie Curie nurses are absolutely wonderful at the end of life. My sister was a recipient of that when she lost her husband, so they are two very, very worthy charities. Thank you. Thank you for those who attended the bucket collection at the BBC Radio Lancashire Live Christmas concert at Marine Hall on the 15th of December. The bucket collection raised £515 for the Mayor's charity. So that was wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Finally, my other announcement, and I am very pleased and privileged to announce that the Mayor-elect for 2018-19 is Councillor Marge Anderton. Councillor Anderton, would you like to say a few words and announce your deputy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it was something of a surprise, but a great honour. So I'll be very pleased to do this. took a little bit of thought, but you know,
It
yes.
does.
And my deputy will be Councillor Barraclough. Michael
Congratulations,
Barraclough. Thank you.
The next item is public questions and statements. However, there are none, so the next item is questions on notice from councillors. There are no questions from councillors under Procedure Rule 11, so we will move on to the next item, which is executive reports. First, the report of the Leader of the Council. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce your report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've nothing extra to add apart from at 3 ward walks, 3.1, when the councillors are working out their ward walks, if you could work on a basis of approximately 2 hours. Less if you wish, but not too much more, because the Chief Exec and I, we might wear out a couple of pair of shoes, but we've got quite a few to get in. I should also like to echo your thoughts, Madam Mayor, as well, and say well done to Marge and to Michael, of course, and it is a great honour to be the Mayor of any borough.
Certainly.
And I don't know if I'm looking forward to Marge being sitting there and asking me questions or sitting here and telling me to shut up. It's one or the other. And also, I should also like to say welcome to Councillor Peter Cartridge, because from both sides it was a heck of a battle on this by-election. So well done, Peter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Beavers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, add a comment and then a question, if you don't mind, Councillor Henderson. Thank you so much for trying to engage with all of Wyre, and not just parts that your party represent. The residents of Wyre deserve to be listened to, and it is a breath of fresh air when we see the ruling group starting to listen and trying to address all councillors' and residents' concerns. And my question is
that the good bit?
That's the good bit. That's the good bit. It's on, sorry. Oh, I've lost it. Anyway. Northern Powerhouse. It's on 5.1, sorry. The Northern Powerhouse doesn't have any money. The Northern Powerhouse is not allowed to make any major decisions without permission from Westminster. So, Councillor Henderson, can you explain to this council how this is investing in the North with no money and no decision-making powers given to the North? Thank you.
Councillor Henderson, would you please respond?
Yeah, that's a good start, is that one? Thanks very much indeed. I do notice on the Northern Powerhouse that it, at the moment anyway, it does tend to centre around Greater Manchester, Liverpool, the very larger areas. And for my opinion on this, that it does need to filter down a lot further. It does need to be moved out from those greater cities. And for that part, we ourselves need to think that how can we try to influence that we move it along over here. Let's just say the Fylde Coast, Lancashire. I should have asked Councillor Murphy to actually say that to you instead of saying it to me to say it to you. But it would seem that the way that I've been thinking has actually been taken up by the 3 councils on the Fylde Coast, and that there's already been a meeting today in Blackpool to see how we can take this forward with the Economic Prosperity Board. So yeah, let's have a go at it.
Councillor Gibson?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Is this the Leader's report or Councillor Murphy's report, I have to ask, really? How many district councils are there in Lancashire? and how many support the Northern Powerhouse, and in what way I hope it's not going to introduce a combined authority by the back door.
There's 15 authorities in Lancashire.
How many districts?
Districts, I think, are 13.
No, there's 12.
Well done. That's a lesson from you to me. The combined authority, that this council, took a very good stance on that. We have been, and continually have been for quite some time, approached again. As the Leader of the Opposition said, it's a new leadership. I listen to everybody, I talk to them all, and that means other people outside of this council chamber as well. And that's why I attend the leaders' meetings. And I will talk to other leaders and I will listen to them, and then I will bring back to the councillors and I will tell them what's been said to me, and we will take it forward from there.
No other questions? That concludes the consideration of the Leader's report. We will now move on to the report of the Resources Portfolio Holder. Councillor Alan Vincent, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report's in front of councillors. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Fale.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Vincent, Power 2.4 refers to the continuation of New Homes Bonus, resulting in the additional amount of £343,878 per year for the next 4 years. Can I ask what plans the Council has for this unexpected windfall? With the paltry amount of £245 collected in litter and dog fouling fines in the whole of Wyre for the year ending November 2017, perhaps additional officers could be employed to tackle the scourge of dog fouling on our streets. We now have an additional PSPO rules that make this task much easier, so let's tackle the problem. Another option could be to help to reduce the risk of the repeat of November's floods that badly affected many of our wards. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The economic literacy of the Labour group is shining forth again. If you read 2.2, we lost £351,000 in grant, and we regained £343,000 in the New Homes Bonus. So we, in fact, lost about £8,000. So we don't have any extra money. We're just very happy that we have less loss than we would otherwise have had. No other questions?
Just to clarify, that loss that you talk about was planned for, whereas the £343,000 additional amount wasn't planned for, hence it's in effect a windfall.
Well, if I come back again, Madam Mayor, it's not a windfall. Councillor. It's not a windfall because if you look to the medium-term financial plan, the situation was not rosy this year, next year, or the year after that. So we have to plan to make sure that we present a balanced budget, and we won't do it by throwing money around like the Labour Party did.
Is there no more questions? Okay, no more questions. Thank you. That concludes the consideration of the Resources Portfolio Holder's report. We will now move on to the report of the Street Scene, Parks and Open Spaces Portfolio Holder. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce your report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just got one thing to actually to read out to all the members, but I'm sure it'll be of specific interest to the members of Fleetwood. When we receive in this council a thank you, of course we put it up onto the intranet. We don't normally pick out one officer to say, well done, that's absolutely superb. We do it in-house, but we don't do it to the public because it's a team effort for everything. And some years ago on the staff questionnaire, the question was asked of the staff, would you care for the Staff Recognition Award? And the staff said, no, we would prefer everything to be spread out amongst all the staff who work hard. So Mr. Payne received an email which was sent on to me as with my portfolio, and it's as this. I'm not sure if you run an employee recognition scheme at Wyre Council, but if you would do, I would like to nominate John Bethel. I'm sure John's known to all of you because he's worked all over the borough. He and his colleagues have implemented a project in Fleetwood for tidying up the alleyways and has used our back alley, Adelaide Street, as the pilot. The difference his team have made have been amazing. However, my main reason for commending John is that he is very approachable, fair and friendly. I find myself emailing him regularly to complain about somebody, but I can't say anything more on that. And nothing is too much trouble for him. He responds quickly and ensures that a reasonable solution is found, as well as remaining discreet regarding my complaints of other people. I have found it very useful to have a nominated person to contact when I have issues around the neighbourhood. It has made a great difference in making my part of Fleetwood a nice area to live. It appears that John actually cares about his job and is making that difference to the environment. And that's from a resident on Adelaide Street, Madam Mayor. As I said, I have nothing more to add to the report.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Emma Anderton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's on a similar vein, Councillor Henderson, and it's on behalf of Councillor Ron Shewan, and it's just to pass on his thanks for the help that the street scene team have helped him with in dealing with a resident's issue, and in particular he mentioned Radford Amos, so if you could pass that on, be very grateful. Thank you.
I certainly will, and I'm sure his mother and father will be pleased to hear that as well.
No more comments or questions? That concludes the consideration of the report of the Street Scene, Parks and Open Spaces portfolio holder. We will now move on to the report of the Planning and Economic Development portfolio holder. Councillor Murphy, would you please introduce your report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Members have got the report in front of them. I've just got one thing to add. Having been accused of a liar by Councillor Duffy, Ruth Duffy, last time, because there was something in the future. In 2.1, part of this report was written prior to Christmas. So the report isn't going down to the Department of Communities and Local Government next year, it's going this year. So I'm not forward guessing 12 months, it's actually going down now. But I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Beavers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Murphy. With regards to the Hill House Master Plan consultation and concerns over the proposed new access road over the rail line and the rumours of the sale of parts of the train track, it is important that the public are given the full facts so they can influence the outcome of the consultation. The reinstatement of the rail line should take a precedence, as it has the ability to have a much wider impact on Wyre's economy and the lives of its residents. Firstly, please can you confirm whether or not such proposals are within the master plan? And secondly, if such proposals are to be put forward within or outside of the master plan, are you able to reassure Council that the actions taken by the enterprise zone will not be allowed to adversely affect the ability or the cost of reinstating the rail line to Fleetwood?
Councillor Murphy, would you please respond?
Yes, thank you. On your first part regarding the master plan, we had a meeting here yesterday looking at the final drafts. It's going to be coming out for consultation internally for 2 weeks in the next couple of weeks, and then there'll be a 6-week public consultation and a launch. So there's nothing set in stone on it. Regarding the railway line, we've always said we'll do whatever we can to make sure that it's in place and in situ. We can only move forward to where we are. From an economic point of view, the EZ is the main driver of everything that we're going forward with, the power stations and everything else that will go on it. But obviously the future of Fleetwood and anything in Fleetwood is part of what we've got to look at as a council. Our involvement is as a council making sure it's deliverable. The EZ is a private concern, which is driving forward the council, but there's nothing on or off the table as yet, and the consultation is what it is. It will be a full public consultation, so you'll get your chance.
Councillor Rayner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Murphy, following on from Councillor Beaver's question, as you may know, I'm a member of the Fleetwood Back on Track team, and the Chair and the Secretary have tasked me with asking you if we've upset you in any way. If we have, our sincere apologies, and can I ask if you would be so kind to attend our next meeting on the 20th of March?
Now, your secretary sat there in the public gallery and she knows she loves me to bits. There's been nothing personal at all about the lack of meetings, but when I get told the day before that a meeting's on...
Sorry, it's 20th of February.
That was when I got your last email, Mary, on the Monday for the Tuesday meeting, and I was already tied up, so I'm sorry. So, yeah, send me the date through of the next meeting. Who?
20th of February, sorry. February. 10:30.
Make your mind up, which one are you on?
20th of February, 10:30.
20th of February, is that Thursday?
We'll all write that down.
That's Tuesday. It's in the diary. Back on track. 10 o'clock, Fleetwood football, 10:30. Okay. Back on track. It's in the diary, Mary.
Councillor Greenhoff.
Councillor Greenhoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to see in the report that we've now got to the stage of submitting a local plan to the Inspectorate. Would you agree with me, though, Councillor Murphy, that it's the policy, that it's time to say a big thank you to the planning policy team? They should be applauded for the work that they've been doing over a number of years now. And as I say, I think they should be applauded. I know it's not been easy for them. And if you don't mind, if I can ask you a second question, I'm sure that everybody along with me are delighted to hear that the Knott End Ferry has been saved. Considering that not long ago, the only talk about this ferry was its demise. Could you give us an outline on how such a U-turn has been achieved?
Certainly. Firstly, with the local plan, I actually signed it off this morning. They're finalising the documents tomorrow afternoon, and there's a courier booked for Monday lunchtime to ship it down to Bristol to the planning inspectors. Thank God. It's been 3 years of hard work, hard pressure for not just the planning team. We've had the planning policy group as well, who's had major input to it, but the planning policy team have been backwards and forwards all over the place with this, not least delays through outside sources that we've had nothing on. So there's a party in the Weatherspoons, I think, on Monday afternoon, where the policy team, I don't think we'll see them for a week. Well, no, I'll be in Spain, so I'm leaving some money for them. On the second bit, the Knott End Ferry, you'll remember going back last year when county was Labour controlled, that they decided that they didn't want anything to do with the funding of the ferry, and they would give the boat to us and have no further part in it. We managed to keep that going for a couple of months ourselves at our expense until the elections and the Conservatives got back control, and lo and behold, we've now managed to strike a deal with a contractor for the definite 4 years with a subsidy that's been cut in half. So we've now got a ferry that's going to be running for the good of people, Fleetwood, Knott End, all over, who use it, but it's costing us half as much as it was before, and Lancashire are contributing. So, it's been a trial, but we've got there as we knew we would.
Thank you.
Councillor Fyle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Murphy, in April 2017, the Conservative group thrust upon this council some poorly thought out changes to the Constitution. The planning process, if you recall, was changed to restrict the public's input at planning meetings, and also to stop councillors from outside of the ward to which an application relates from calling in the application for consideration by the planning committee. You may also be aware that there is a proposed drive-in fast food restaurant on the car park of a Cleveland supermarket planned. You may also be aware that this has resulted in a huge response on social media. The consideration of that application will take place in due course, but at present only councillors in Victoria and Norcross can call this in. This is despite the proposed application having an impact far beyond the boundaries of that ward. This is a perfect example of an application affecting a number of wards and reason enough why the changes in April 2017 should not have been made. Will you consider putting forward an amendment to the Constitution so that councillors from all affected wards can call in an application? Thank you.
Simple answer is no. That driving's been called in by Councillor Vincent. Well, I know it's not the question, it's the answer. It's been called in. You don't need 4 people calling it in. One's more than enough to do it. And the actual changes to it haven't restricted people speaking at the planning meetings. There was a review after 6 months. It's found to be working perfectly fine. So I don't see any
point
reason.
of clarification, Madam Mayor. This is not about the particular. I've used this as an example, but if none of the 2 councillors in Victoria and Norcross called that in, it would have been left to be an officer decision when it should be a council committee decision. This is just an example. There will be examples in the future where this will materialise absolutely certainty. So it needs changing for the good of everybody here.
Yeah, he's given a usual rubbish example by something that's already taken on. But you know, as a councillor, there's 50 councillors in this authority. You are allowed to speak to one another. If you think there's something that the public don't like or you don't like, speak to the ward councillor. Put your views to him and ask him to call it in. It's already been called in. It's not stifling democracy in any way.
Can we move on? Councillor Gibson?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand Mr Gupta of Liberty House Group is wanting to invest in natural energy Wyre, who with Atlantis wish to build a barrage across the River Wyre. Can Councillor Murphy give us an update on that situation?
Yeah, it's a very quick-moving situation. Mr Gupta's company, which is multi-billion, took over 49.9% shares of Atlantis, and Atlantis have changed the name. They will be working with Bob Long and his group, and there will be a meeting here in the next 2 or 3 weeks with Cabinet and the developers to see where we go and move it forward.
Councillor Anne Turner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just point out for clarification, as far as I'm concerned, Norcross Road is defunct. Councillor Fair referred to it twice. I think I'm a councillor representing Marsh Mill Ward. You said Norcross. I thought you said Norcross. I thought you said
Right, thank you. No more comments? No more questions? That concludes the... where are we at? Yeah, right. That concludes the consideration of the Planning and Economic Development Portfolio Holders Report. We will now move on to the report of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holder. Councillor Berry, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My report is before members. I'll try and answer any questions put to me.
Any questions or comments, Councillor Greenall?
Councillor Greenall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In view of the recent flooding on New Lane in Carlton, I was wondering if you could give us an update on any action that has been taken to prevent a repeat of the incident that occurred a few weeks ago with the flooding on that lane.
Okay. We had a recent flood forum meeting, and obviously the areas affected by the floods in November were considered, and for the actions for New Lane, the Environment Agency have said they will undertake to check out the watercourses in that area. I can't give you a firm date when that's going to be carried out. I know it's going to happen possibly in the next 2 to 3 months. That's the sort of time scale that they indicated to us, but obviously we've got to keep tabs on them. Hopefully they'll get that done fairly quickly. There was another aspect to the flooding in that area, was that it has been suggested that there was a blockage of the watercourse as it goes under a mountainous way. Now that area is the responsibility of Highways England, and we have written to Highways England to say to them that they must have a look at this, investigate if there is a blockage to get it cleared. They have acknowledged our letter, so as far as we're concerned, again, hopefully that will be carried out in the fairly near future. As regards future flooding, I mean, obviously it's our duty to try and keep tabs on all these sort of things that, I mean, a clearance of a watercourse and a clearance of a highway gully only lasts for quite, doesn't last forever, and we've got to try and keep tabs year in, year out, probably twice a year, on how these are working, whether they're working efficiently. Now, it's something that there is going to be an ONS task group, I understand, to look on what councillors can do as regards flooding and what their duties are. And one of the possible suggestions that we may be putting to them, if they could keep tabs on things like highways, gullies, and possibly, if it's possible, watercourses in their area. Possibly they could have people to report to them. But it's important that, the residents and the community, if they do see a blockage, that they report it in, and we can then get these agencies to get out and sort it out. But yes, we'll keep our tabs on it. We'll do it as fast as we can, as far as we're concerned. Yep.
Councillor Ballard?
Yes, Councillor Berry. Reference to, have we had any feedback from what Lancashire County Council are doing in reference to the flooding on the drains? Have they got a course of action that they're doing for our residents?
As far as Highways Agency, as far as Lancashire County Council are concerned, they are responsible for the highways and the highways gullies, but they have quite clearly stated to us that they only clear routinely what they call priority roads. I take that mean to be main highways and main thoroughfares. So a lot of side streets and a lot of residential areas are not going to be covered automatically by that cleaning process and programme. What they do say is that if people report in a blockage, then they will attend to it, and they will attend to the immediate vicinity of that blockage, look at other drains in that area. So we're down to this situation where, in a lot of cases, it's a question of reporting in, and this is what goes back to the answer I've given to Councillor Greenough. We've got to start looking and asking people to report in as a matter of course when they see that things are blocking up. So it's not the sort of answer I like to give you, but that is the reality of the situation.
It's just that I did report an incident, but it's never been actioned.
Obviously got to be chased up and taken up, possibly with the county councillor as well.
Councillor Barry Birch.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's 3-3 White Ribbon campaign. I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but halfway down in the second paragraph, the campaign recognises the role of men and boys play in creating a culture where abuse and harassment against women and girls is totally unacceptable. We have gone to a seminar about this. Again, it's tied in with domestic violence. It's abhorrent to even read what goes on there. So I would ask if anybody wants to speak to myself or any other of the officers, Mark Broadhurst, Neil Greenwood and Ian Williamson. We're going to be putting on some sort of event within the next 12 months to highlight this type of behaviour. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, can I just say, I think at that meeting we did recognise, and it was brought across most strongly, that in the past it's been like a weekly campaign, more or less. And it's really a campaign that we should try and carry out 365 days of the year and try and mount 1 or 2 events to highlight the issues, because it is an important issue. So yes, we will be looking now at seeing what sort of events we can carry out, and obviously I appreciate the help and assistance from yourself and Councillor Smith that is being put into this campaign.
Councillor Beavers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to add to the gullies, we have just got a new district lead at Highways. He's called Matt Campbell at lancashire.gov.uk. So if you're having problems with your gullies, attack Matt Campbell at Lancashire. Yeah, he is very good, but he will get it moving, and if we use him...
He's a total difference from what we had.
Well, we didn't have anybody for a while, you know.
Sorry, one meeting, people. Thank you.
I would say, in answer to Councillor Beavers, I appreciate what she said. I think it's important that we do send emails in as well, because it then becomes a record and we get a reference number. It can be done. Go to the Lancashire website and you'll see, you know, report in both roads and drains. So please use it.
Is that... Councillor Moon. Oh, Councillor Moon.
It's just on that very point. The LCC don't action a lot of these reports as quickly as they should do. And it's just a comment, and as far as I'm concerned, the sooner that maintenance of gullies and gully cleaning was a responsibility of this authority, the sooner the better as far as I'm concerned.
Councillor Kay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Roger, just with regards to Amandanis Way and West Drive Junction, Highways England email me every week. We've had a camera down, we've had it hosed out, and at the moment we've not got we've got no flooding there, we've got no road block with the water. He is going to come back to me with the full report in the next few days. With LCC, our gullies and drains, for Bourne Ward, it's all been reported. They've asked, I spoke with Matt today, and he said if the county councillors from Wyre go with the areas for who we represent for the borough, we'll be able to take that forward. So if you've got any problems, if you email your county councillor, they will take that forward, and Matt will work with us to make sure that we get them out. So we have got several being cleared for yours and Emma's area. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? That concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holders Report. We will now move on to the report of the Leisure and Cultural Portfolio Holder. Councillor Bowen, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My report's before you, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
No comments or questions, right?
No comments or questions. That concludes the consideration of the Leisure and Cultural Portfolio Holders Report. The final executive report is from the new Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holder, Councillor Michael Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It would be remiss of me not to pay tribute to my predecessor, Councillor Viv Taylor. From everything I hear from everybody involved at officer level, she was extremely good at this job. And if I can do half the job she did, I'll be doing the people of Wyre proud. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Beavers.
Councillor Beavers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Vincent. It was announced less than 2 weeks ago that Blackpool Victoria A&E department was the worst performing in the country for hitting its targets to see all patients within the 4-hour period. More than 1 in 7 had to wait more than 12 hours to be seen. A letter leaked to the Health Service Journal by consultants acknowledged the best efforts of staff, trusts and clinical commissioning groups, but added, the facts remain, however, that the NHS is severely and chronically underfunded. Thousands of patients are waiting in ambulances for hours as the hospital lacks adequate space. Some of our own experiences range from 120 patients a day managed in corridors to some dying prematurely. So my question to you, Councillor Vincent, is what do you intend to do about this? Will you, as Health and Community Engagement Holder, fight for the people of Wyre? Will you take on this government and demand that they start to fund the National Health Service properly? Will you write on behalf of the residents of Wyre to Jeremy Hunt, to demand that he looks again and starts to fund the National Health Service instead of his current policy of starving our once amazing National Health Service. Thank you.
Councillor Vincent?
Okay. Well, I suppose it depends what you think helping people is. I would suggest that writing to Jeremy Hunt and asking for more money I won't be the first person, I won't be the last, and I imagine he's got a huge pile of such letters that he maybe you get a response, maybe you don't. Instead, what I intend to do is to work closely with my colleague, Councillor and County Councillor Turner. Jeremy Hunt has social care now as part of his portfolio, and the answer is not necessarily continue to increase funding on the NHS, which the government has done, whether you accept that or not is up to you. And there is a plan to improve the workings and the functionality of the NHS, but the answer to the problem with beds in the NHS is not more money for the NHS, it's what more beds. The answer is better care. The different bodies of the NHS working closer together and making sure older people especially don't bed block, don't tie up the hospitals. That's the approach. That's how we deal with the crisis in the NHS, not necessarily just throwing more money at it.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Vincent, before I go on to actually what I wanted to say, I just would like to say for someone who's actually been in and out of Blackpool Victoria Hospital recently, I can't praise them enough for down to all my appointments and actually having an operation. I was meant to be in for 2 nights and they actually got me out the same day, so I actually can't praise them enough. And yes, there were a lot of people there, I have to say. There was a lot of staff struggling, but they got me in and out, and I can't praise them enough for that. But that aside, what I wanted to talk about, I want to thank our officers who perform a sterling job for the food hygiene inspections in Wyre, and to those that helped us provided information for our overview and scrutiny for the recent report to the Food Standards Authority. It's really great that it has been recognised by them. Thank you.
Councillor Vincent? No? All right. Councillor Pimley?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Vincent, I was very pleased to see in the Gazette on the 15th of January a report about the various boroughs in our area happiness rating, and to see that we are third in that list is very heartening. And the comment in the paper was praising Mark Broadhurst and the area, quoting, "We have residents who simply do things that make them happy more often. We have great parks, fells and beaches, and have great natural environment." And that was very good to read.
No comment?
I would echo Councillor Pimley's sentiments there. The officers do an excellent job, Mark in particular, who's been a great help to me since I took on this portfolio. Still quite a few acronyms to learn though. What I would say is that Wyre came third. We'd always aimed to do better than that, but what's interesting is we came third behind Fylde and Ribble Valley, so it goes to show that if you live in a Conservative controlled borough, you are by rights a lot happier.
Councillor Gibson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This particular portfolio post was set up to build bridges between this council and the parishes and the town councils. How many parish council meetings have you attended, Councillor Vincent?
What a ridiculous question. Madam Mayor, sorry, I'm answering the question, Councillor Gibson. I have been in portfolio since literally the last council meeting, during which time we've had the Christmas period. The suggestion that in that time, my time would have been better served, rather than learning the portfolio, but visiting town and parish councils is just absurd. In terms of engaging with town and parish councils, I'm more than happy to do that, and I will do that in my own time and not at a ridiculous pace as required by Councillor Gibson.
Councillor Sean Turner. Councillor Sean Turner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just in response to Councillor Beaver's
Firstly, debunking a few myths. The funding very definitely has gone up every year. It's gone up above inflation every year. The heads of the trust will tell you it actually has.
Can Councillor Turner...
Should be directed to Councillor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was in response, I said, and you just said no, it hasn't. Anyway, basically, so the funding has gone up. That's not an issue. The problem we have, and we want to be if we want to be mature about it, is we've got a massively growing problem. We've got a growing elderly population. In 10 years' time, that's going to have a massive impact. That's how quick this is coming upon us. So we've got to look at ways of, as Councillor Vincent said, changing how we operate the health system. If we chose to build a health system today, it would look nothing like it does. But there's no off button because people will die. We've got to unpick and try and make it better. Now, we had Theresa May on the television saying how the National Health Service had never been better prepared for winter. And people laughed at that, and yeah, of course it was. I can tell you now, and I'm not a liar, I was in a meeting before Christmas with all the heads of the trusts who said, do you know what, we've never been better prepared. In terms of the extra money, that's what they did to Theresa May. I'm just saying, I watched that, and yeah, it sounded hollow, but I was in them meetings where them words were being said by the heads of the trust. They had an extra additional £25 million of better care fund money to attack bed blocking, if you want to call it that, delayed transfers of care. Just before Christmas, for example, we worked with the NHS. Just before Christmas, we, as a council, part of our share of the Better Care Fund, which had been divvied up between the NHS trusts and the CCGs to be delivered to try and help flow through hospital, we identified some underspend, some slippage, if you want to call it that, and we didn't want to just spend it on anything for the sake of spending it. So we had 2.8 million quid. That was divvied up for schemes to help, again, in the run-up to the winter crisis. The NHS just last week...
Do we have a question for...
Okay. Do you really think that it's all about funding?
Sorry, Councillor Turner, you need to be directing and asking the question or making a statement directly to the portfolio holder.
Agree with me that it's not just about money. There's far more other things going on in the NHS that need addressing, and we're doing our level best to do that. Sorry, I'm looking at Lynn.
Councillor Vincent, would you like to respond?
Yes, I agree with him.
Councillor Lees. Councillor Lees. Councillor Lees. Councillor Lees.
Yes, definitely.
Councillor Lees.
Councillor Lees.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just to confirm what's already been said by Councillor Vincent, it's health and social care is bringing things together and not, as has been just said recently, that it's best to unpick to make things better, which is what Councillor was saying just a few minutes ago. He's saying you unpick it, you're saying you're bringing the two together, health and social care. Well, your terminology was to unpick it.
Yeah, okay.
What's the point? You know, where are we here? I mean, I'm going along with what you said.
Yeah, I think essentially at the moment, obviously, social care, the NHS and the services it provides, I think is what Councillor Turner was referring to, and how it was unpicked and sort of then put back together again afterwards. We're not suggesting it be sort of dissolved and spread out across each other. Of course, at the moment, a lot of social care is implemented by Lancashire County Council themselves. There's no one big budget, and of course, people try and save money on their own budget by referring things back to the NHS, and it goes backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. If you bring all that together, so if you unpick the NHS and merge the LCC, the social care together with the CCGs, and you have one pot of money, then actually there's no saving by referring people backwards and forwards, and you can genuinely put somebody where they need to be. Yeah, I accept your point.
We've run out of time, over our 10 minutes. That concludes the consideration of the Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holders Report, which is the last of the executive reports this evening. Now is the opportunity for members of the Cabinet to make comments or questions on the reports of their colleagues. Do any Cabinet member wish to do so? No? Good. The next item is the report of the Localised Council Tax Support. Councillor Alan Vincent, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendations?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This has been proposed for a number of years now, and it is basically intended and does limit the amount that people on benefits have to pay for council tax from their own resources, if indeed they actually have any. Obviously, it helps the most vulnerable in society, and I would strongly recommend it.
Is there a seconder for the proposal? Are there any comments, questions or amendments? No?
No, so we can go straight to the vote.
Right.
Go straight to the vote because there's no comments.
Could we go to the vote then, councillors? All those in favour, please show.
That's unanimous.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendation is approved. The next item is a periodic report of the lead member for children and young people. Councillor Kay, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, my report is in front of you. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Are there any comments or questions for Councillor Kay?
So then the
Right.
report is noted.
The report is noted. Right, no notices of motion. So that concludes the business for this evening. Just before you leave, councillors, I can see from the envelope you've been very generous, so thank you very much indeed, and I hope someone in this chamber actually wins the weekend. It would be lovely, wouldn't it? And I would like to thank you, a big thank you to the councillors for a productive and courteous meeting. Thank you very much indeed.